Since the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos are children last week, nearly half of in vitro fertilization clinics in the state have halted IVF treatment. Oh, yeah. These things have consequences. Here's what Republicans are saying about it, though. Watch.
I don't support any effort to take away IVF from any woman in this country.
We need to make sure that embryos are protected. I personally believe an embryo is a baby. Not everybody's going to agree that an embryo is a baby, but that's why parents need to be able to have the decision on how they're going to handle those embryos.
I think the court correctly assessed the law, but I believe the Alabama law needs to change because the Republican Party cannot be the party against family formation. Pro-life means being pro-IVF.
So, okay, and then there's Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville. Watch this, because I really don't think that he knows what IVF is. You'll see. Watch this.
Do you have a reaction to the Alabama Supreme Court ruling on the fact that embryos are children?
Yeah, I was all for it. We need to have more kids. We need to have an opportunity to do that. And I thought this was the right thing to do. But
IVF is used to have more children, and right now IVF services are paused at some of the clinics in Alabama. Aren't you concerned that this could impact people who are trying to have kids?
Well, that's for another conversation. People need to have. We need more kids. We need the people to have the opportunity to have kids.
Senator, what do you say to the women right now in Alabama who no longer have access to IVF, or who will not, as a result of this ruling? What do you say to them?
Well, that's a hard one. It really is.
He's so stupid. Does he even know how to spell IVF? Okay, but you know what? Since when do Republicans want to stop rich people from having children? It doesn't make sense. But on the one hand, they want you to not have an abortion. Then they also don't want you to have more children. Make up your minds, whatever that means.
I actually think they do want you to have more children, and they're just not saying the quiet part out loud.
Which is?
Right? Which is multicultural Americans are going to become the majority population by 2050. By 2050, the Hispanic Americans are expected to have the most population growth, an increase of about 6%, while the white population is expected to decrease by about 11%. At this time, the birth rate for white Americans in this country has been falling since the Great Recession, and it's dropped almost 23% between 2007 and 2022. So,
but wouldn't more white women be getting the IVF? So that increases
that's why they want IVF. But they can't say, yes, an embryo. They're coming out sort of against it and not being able to explain why. They want to have more American white children born because the birth rate has gone down.
Okay, so I don't see this as a race issue. What I see is until it affects them, they don't care. Yeah. So the most disenfranchised among us, the poorest among us, need to be able to family plan. We need women's health. We need the Planned Parenthoods. We need all of these things. As we shut it down and keep closing the gap as to how far back we'll roll it, the people it hurts the most are the poorest, the have-nots. So when it hits the haves in the face because all their wives want to go have babies, that's when they make change. And guess what they're doing today? They're taking it back to make change. That's not a race thing. That's a money thing.
No, but it's race, and it's also about the queer community, because who uses IVF? The LGBTQ community also uses IVF and surrogacy, and they don't want that.
But I want to make sure.
That's the quiet part.
I would say it's because it affects them more than they're thinking of this. All of a sudden, the people in their lives. Fertility is a major issue in this day and age. Most of my friends could only get pregnant through IVF. Versions of that process.
Well, because they wait.
No. This was friends that were.
Looking at Alabama Supreme Court that have not yet decided what to do with the embryo. And they had a situation that the embryo of someone was mistakenly broken by this woman. Embryo was mistakenly broken by this individual, and the Alabama Supreme Court have not been able to pass judgment. So there is this still argument about the embryo, the IVF, and the women in the view always arguing. They all have different opinions. To some of them, IVF is very important. And IVF, some people don't believe in IVF, but to some of them, some people believe in IVF. And they told Sony that even she's supporting IVF because Sony have 2 children that were being birthed out of IVF. So she said she will all her savings because of the IVF. So if someone could have mistakenly broken it, so all her savings for 5 years could have gone. So Sony is big into it, but Farah tried to tell Sony that even the Pope that she believed in, the Pope don't want IVF. The Pope does not believe in that. They believe you have to carry your baby naturally. So there is this argument that some of them say IVF cannot be compared to a baby. They cannot give one the same punishment like you mistakenly kill a child. Some of them say no, IVF, if the egg can be frozen, the sperms can be frozen, all that. So, but the baby cannot be frozen. So I compare a baby who can breathe, who cannot be poisoned. The baby cannot be poisoned. The baby cannot be freeze. The baby cannot be freeze, but basically to them the baby cannot be freeze, but the sperm can be freeze, the egg can be freeze. So this IVF can be freezing. So actually Alabama does not really support that, and they are trying to bring down IVF. So these women are in ranch saying no, Alabama cannot do that. That will stop giving the opportunity for some people who want to do IVF and they are unable to do it. So that is not a good one. Let them just let it be. They cannot do that. But some people support for, some people are against it. That Alabama should have an IVF situation, IVF clinic. That anyone want to do IVF for women who have that who are unfortunate, who cannot have baby naturally. There will also be opportunity to have their own children through IVF. So most of the women in the view supported that no, that IVF, they have to check the IVF to see what is happening. They cannot stop freezing egg. They cannot stop freezing sperm. So all this matters. So they have to fight for that. So the women in the views always saying that they really need to pass that judgment that will favor everyone. If there was not that mistaking of that broken of that frozen of someone IVF that was in the fridge already, it could have not been all this, and the person took to the Supreme Court. But yet the Supreme Court have not really given better judgment for such a scenario like that. But what do you really think watching? Do you think IVF should come to an end? Do you think people should have their children naturally? Do you support the fact that IVF in the next 5 years we're not going to have no IVF again, something else is going to take place? Let me see your own comment on the suggestion on the comment board. Thank you very much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please help subscribe and help share the video. This is African History Month, and happy Black History Month, and God bless you.